Peace and Grand Rising family. My name is Vie Darling, the Cosmic Queen and your intergalactic interpreter. And I am here to deliver a message. This is the Aetherium. Welcome. It is my celestial spiritual sanctuary where I'm pioneering the spiritual practice of cosmic wellness, which contextualizes our place in the universe in order to help us to develop sovereignty so we can be master co-creators of our lives and live happy, joyous, and free. It is based on a foundational shadow work practice that I call spiritual abolition. And when we talk about abolition, we remember that Christ consciousness is one of liberation and freedom from the bondage of self. And that self is ego, it is the mind, it is composed of projections that are developed in each incarnation, and these projections can serve as veils. They can serve as veils that are barriers to the truth, which is that we are infinite, and regardless of what we're experiencing in this life, that's always true, no matter who you are or what background you come from. So yeah, my name is Vie Darling. That's what we're doing here in the Aetherium, and I'm gonna do a little cosmic tea. I just am getting started on my day. It's been slow. Today is the 10:10 portal, I believe. Oh no, tomorrow is the 10:10 portal. So it's been slow. It's been a work in progress for me because I'm just really tired, and what I've been witnessing is that a lot of people are, sick, and I think that people are purging. They're purging, and what's really important, something that I downloaded that I really wanted to share, is that it's not something that I didn't know, it's just something that I want to remind people of. Infernal energies and entities, they, Jinna, as we call them in my culture. I'm first generation Liberian American, and I center my indigenous spirituality in my practice. But we will talk about God, and we will talk about Christ consciousness and Christ. And I always say that the dual helixes, the two strands of the divine DNA, are unconditional love and unconditional truth. So if those words or those terminologies are difficult for you to engage with, I would just encourage you to come back to those dual helixes. It's not what is taught in these religious institutions. We work outside of that, because that's what tapping into the infinite does for us. It allows us to live outside of the projected box and without and transcendent of binaries, so that we're able to tap into as much of the truth as possible as we are able to embody at any given point in time. I'm outside because though I could do this inside, I like the privacy that I get inside. Like, the walls are thin inside, you know what I mean? And I also like to do this out here with the sun, is something that I'm also recognizing. So we're outside with it, y'all. So there might be some background noise. It might get loud at different points. I have my tarot deck. We might use that, but we are going to be looking at some astrology that I want to talk about. So I know that if you subscribe to the Mysteries, which is the premium tier of my Substack newsletter, the channel, we haven't done, I don't think that I did this week or this month's newsletter yet, because it's going to be a big, arduous undertaking for me. this time around. Okay, I had to change because I was wearing my nightshirt and I was starting to sweat, and I don't want to have to change my nightshirt after only one night. But yeah, so I haven't done it yet because there's some big downloads that are coming in, and I feel like we kind of want to unpack that a little bit together on online, vocally. Like, let's talk about it. You know, that's the easiest way for me to do it. One thing that I downloaded in my meditation was 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, which is it is the location of one of the first churches, the early churches in Christianity, and it is in modern day Turkey, and it is one of the churches that the author of Revelations condemned because hold on a second. One of the authors of the book of Revelations condemned because they were lukewarm. They were not really fully committed to the bit, as they say. They weren't really committed to the lifestyle, I guess, of being a Christian. And I'm gonna just reiterate this. When I talk about this, like, I call the New Testament especially, but I call it the good grimoire because it is a spell book. And I call it the Lightworkers Codex because it's written in code for light workers to understand, okay? And it even says that. So if you aren't subscribed to the mysteries, what are you doing? It's only $11.11 a month. If you want a free sample to get a taste of what you would be subscribing to, I would suggest to you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and use that free, that 7-day free trial to read as much as you can, because we decoded that part of the New Testament in which Yeshua is talking to his disciples, and they're like, why do you speak in parables? And he has to explain to them why he speaks in parables. And the reason he speaks in parables, which is to say code, why he speaks in code, is because most people do not have the level of consciousness to understand, to understand, to overstand what he is expressing to them. So he has to put it in the most simple terms for them to be able to truly digest the information. And he talks about like having eyes to see and ears to hear. And I always capitalize those because we're talking about divine sight. We're talking about spiritual sight, spiritual vision. And what we call this in the modern day is clairvoyance and clairsentience. But somehow this manages to escape the comprehension of the NPCs of the institution, and that's why we're not doing that. But one thing that I want to come back to is like, this is a consciousness. This is actually Christ consciousness is fourth dimensional consciousness, and you must go through the 4D in order to get to the 5D and the 6D and so on and so forth. So if you consider yourself a chosen one and you are still at odds with Christ consciousness and you are still struggling to receive these messages, these light codes, because you are, you know, still reeling from perhaps religious abuse and spiritual abuse. And the thing is, within the global paradigm of the demonic shadow empire, or the DSE as I call it, This is what was spread during the thousands of years of colonization that took place, particularly by the Roman Empire, which came out of the Greek Empire. So, and I'm hearing Anatolia. Anatolia is also there. I'm hearing the Anatolian Peninsula, which is in it's in Turkey as well. So there's a lot coming up about Turkey. I don't know, maybe something's happening in the news with Turkey. I wouldn't know, I can't speak to that. But maybe you're Turkish, maybe this has to do, like, maybe you're thinking of going to Turkey, I don't know. I'm hearing caliphate, and I also was picking up like on Genghis Khan, okay? And like the spreading of DNA. I'm hearing cryptid, the spreading of cryptid DNA. I don't actually know what a cryptid is, if I'm being honest with you. So like I can't speak to that, but yeah. I want to continue and just say that, like, if you are struggling with those things, that's the kind of healing work that we do here in the Aetherium. So if you're interested in, you know, healing beyond the systemic abuse and trauma that we all are victimized by to some degree within the 𝗪𝗪, you can book an oracle healing session with me. The link is going to be in the description box, and we do energy work, we do divination, and a lot of other things. It is prescriptive, like it is a practice. I help you build out your spiritual abolition. I help you develop a foundation with your spiritual abolition in order to build out your cosmic wellness practice to return you to a state of sovereignty so that you can masterfully co-create your experience. And yeah, you can go ahead and book with me. If you're watching this when I'm posting it, we're definitely going to be doing a circle, a virtual circle for Samhain, All Hallows Eve. Not 100% sure what day that's going to be, but I will let y'all know within like the next week what day that's going to be. Because I do feel like Samhain is a day in and of itself where it's good to like just focus on oneself. But so I'm hearing that it started, well, one thing that I want to say is that I downloaded just now that's like, you know, I read, when I looked at 𝗪𝗪𝗁, I read to do some scrying after it was presented to me in the ethers. I read that it's in modern day Turkey, and that most of the early Christians were Jews living in the Roman Empire. And then when a lot of non-Jewish people, and I'm assuming that this is like also like ethnically, people started joining, they made it so that like they were no longer protected from having to venerate and honor and worship the emperor as God. And the emperor is actually the beast that they're talking about, the beast system. And what a lot of people don't know, but if you've been following for a while here, you know that scholars believe that the term Babylon used in the book of Revelations is actually referring to the Roman Empire. Not the Babylonian. And even though the Roman Empire is very similar to the Babylonian Empire, that is actually because they took everything that they knew essentially from the Babylonian Empire. They took their gods, all of that stuff. And then, you know, we know that Rome was created by Remus and Romulus, and then it like spread and it became like a bigger thing. I'm channeling right now, obviously. It became a bigger thing. And yeah, went out and conquered. But it's not about the fact that, like, quote unquote, it physically fell. We're not, like, Rome is not the center of the world anymore. But it is that spirituality and those ideologies. It is the spirit of the Roman Empire that persists on. And it was done through colonization, first of the tribes of Europe, and then of the, first of the tribes of Europe, and then of the rest of the world, right? And now we live in this globalized culture where everybody's culture is impacted by colonialism, so nobody is untouched by it, you know, and that is why we all live in the DSC. It is mainly ideological, and that's really important to note. So this is why we do spiritual abolition, because we dissect and defrag, basically. You know, indoctrination into the DSC fragments your spirit, and it splinters it off into like these fractals, these timelines that are karmic cycles, and it's an abusive process, and the implementation, the seeding of that abuse, it sows a seed of these fractals of abuse timelines that we then go down repeatedly in these karmic cycles until there is some sort of intervention and there is a stopping force that keeps it from going forward, and that will either just press against itself or we will change course. The thing is, though, actually what we have to do is we have to develop self-love through truth enough that we have to develop self-love through the truth from the revelations, the removal of the veils, in order to be a stopping force, so that because love is diamond. It is unpenetrable. It is eternal. It's simply a matter of like forgetting that. You know, it's never not true. We just forget that because of the veils of illusion and forgetting. So when we remove those veils of forgetting, we develop through the revelation of truth, the development of truth. That's what we do in spiritual abolition, is we take the bull by the horns and engage with the truth, as unapologetically and straightforward as we possibly can, but still with compassion, because, you know, it's unconditional love and unconditional truth. Have that stopping force, which is love. And instead of like continuing to go on over and over and over, we hit that stopping force, we stay there no matter what, and we transcend to a higher dimension of existence where we are no longer unable to move forward. Downloading something right now. The more that we remove the veils, the more that we connect with unconditional love. Anyways, this is physics. This is a Newtonian law of motion that like something in motion will remain in motion until there is a force strong enough to stop it from being in motion. And then I guess it's going to like eventually lose its kinetic energy and potential for movement. So we can't do that necessarily on our own, but like unconditional love can. You know what I mean? Unconditional love can do that. And unconditional love and unconditional truth, that's like the Divine Mother and the Divine Father principles. We're going to talk about this when we look at the chart, because it is a Merkaba integration. I'm going to show y'all the chart too. But so yeah, there's been a lot of purging going on, and so a lot of people are getting sick because these low vibrational energies, Jinna, as I said, they cannot take form in the material world unless through a person. So, you know, sometimes people were like, oh, like the indigenous people, the ancients, the elders or the ancestors, they thought that like germs were 1616 on the clock. They thought that germs were demons or spirits, and it's like they understood germs. Actually, if you understand why they used sage, why they used cinnamon, then you would understand and understand that cinnamon is actually antimicrobial. Cinnamon is used to purify the energy of a body and of the world, because the planet is a celestial body, because it is antimicrobial. And it repels that which makes us sick. That's that which causes disease, dis-ease. Plagues. We get disease when we get out of balance. And what have I said? This is all about coming back to balance. It's not about like, if you look at a chart, a natal chart, let's say, and you have the sun in the sign of Taurus, and the sister sign is Scorpio, it doesn't mean that you need to balance yourself by necessarily, and I've said this before, it doesn't mean that you balance yourself. Oh, actually, let's use the example of Capricorn. The sister sign of Capricorn is Cancer. They don't get along well. They're very, very opposite one another. But that is because both of them need to meet in the middle in order to be, they're dual sides of the same coin, right? But if they meet in the middle, that brings together the best aspects of both of them. Okay? It brings together the best aspects of both of them. Because we're seeking equanimity, we're seeking equilibrium, balance, the middle way, the middle path, Wu way. Okay? And this is why I need folks to understand, like, I've been studying this like my whole life, yes, but also like I've been studying in institutions, like in the institutions of education since I was 17. So yes, we're talking about Christ and things like that, and we're talking about things within the context of Abrahamic religion, such as Jinn. You know, I talk about the Midrash, all this stuff, but we're also talking about like Buddhism. We're also talking about Taoism, okay, Wu Wei, and the middle path. When you look at a chart, you might think that this, or anyways, when I first started practicing and training and learning astrology, and I look at a chart, I would look to the opposite sign to find the solution. So if there's a problem that stems in Capricorn, maybe the solution is going to be in the opposite sign of Cancer. But that would be an opposition, actually. The thing is, you might actually find the solution in another sign that seems to be so very different, and maybe even like polar opposite to Capricorn, but in Pisces, they may not seem like they really like make a lot of sense together, but actually they do. Because Pisces is Christendom. It is, you know, it is the living waters, and when it's in its shadow aspect, it's polluted with a lack of faith, you know, because of the installation of fear. The installation of fear, especially for your mortal life, is the trauma that happens. And that happens during indoctrination into the DSE, okay? It's basically like getting jumped into a gang, right? And so our pool, our well, has been polluted. But when we do the shadow work to exorcise all of those demons from the well, and to reconnect the well to the fountain of life from which all flows, to the river, which is the fresh waters, potable drinking water, to the river, Oshun, Lady of the Lake. Spirit does not like when I talk about her though. Like, anyways, the 𝗪𝗪𝗁. When we connect to that, we tap into a purifying frequency that like absolves us of all of the karmic past, including generational. Because sometimes a lot of us, like, think of it this way: your gene pool, you incarnate into your gene pool, you take on all of the cess that is in that gene pool, if it hasn't been kept flowing, if it hasn't been cleaned out in a while. That's what has to do with the still waters of the 8th house. Okay, so maybe that's something that you want to look at in your natal chart. But yeah, that's actually what we're talking. That's why the sign of the Christians, the early Christians, was a fish. Because I've said this before and I'll say it again, Yeshua was initiated as a 𝗪𝗪𝗁. He was initiated in the mystery schools of Kemet, which were based on the same teachings of the Dogon tribe. Everything that they knew in Egypt, they took from Nubia, actually, and Kush. And he was initiated as a 𝗪𝗪𝗁 because he was a 𝗪𝗪𝗁. Fresh water. And so he went as a crystal light worker and picked up those codes and took those codes to he went as a crystal light worker, picked up those codes in Kemet, in those mystery schools, and took those codes back to Judea and traveled around. You know, he traveled around where it traveled around in the Roman Empire and like spread those codes. And so he gave those codes to his people, but meanwhile, you know, those codes were being spread. And also, not for nothing, he grew up in Kemet, actually. He grew up there for 12 years at least. And he also went to other parts of Asia where he trained. Okay, so he wasn't just keeping one practice, but he was an initiate of the mystery schools. And this is historical information. Okay, this is historical information. That I think is very important context, because most people exist in their relationship with these major historical figures without the historical context, and that is what is so destructive. Okay, it's so destructive and harmful. I'm being guided to get into the deck. But what I want to say is, like, if you're getting sick right now, it's probably because you are purging dis-ease. These malevolent spirits that cause dis-ease, that are causing imbalances. You're being called to come into balance, but the light codes are taking place. We've already done that. Okay? The light codes are grounding in. Diamond sun plasma is grounding in and activating through the light collective to ground into Ace of Cups. New energy, new DNA, new atmosphere, new environment. You are, like, protected, I want you to know. Oh my gosh, and look what's under it. They cannot hurt you anymore. Get the 8 of Wands. The energy is shifting, the energy is changing actively, and it is falling apart, okay? And let me tell you something. We get this in reverse, the 3 of Swords in reverse. We get this in reverse, okay? We get fresh water. The bee just came here. I'm hearing give all your, don't go wasting your emotion, save all your love, no, lay all your love on me, don't go spreading your emotion. It's ABBA. I wasn't jealous before we met. Now all I see, everyone I see is a potential threat. Now it isn't something, I don't know. But anyway, look. 9 of Swords in the reverse. 3 of Wands. Temperance. Be patient. Sit in your power, sit in your authority, because you already know what it is. Everything is coming together, okay? This is a new time, this is a new timeline because of the work that you've done. 10 of Pentacles, it's over, bro. This could not be a more auspicious reading. This could not be a more auspicious reading. Okay, have gratitude because of all the work that you've done, because you've listened, because you don't need to worry about missing the boat, because you're not going to miss it. You're not going to miss it because you are actively putting into practice everything that you've learned. You are in a new atmosphere. You are in a new timeline. It's just a matter of it metabolizing and metabolizing and materializing. 9 of Pentacles, Page of Swords in reverse. Yeah, don't let those old thought patterns come in and throw you off of your game, okay? Because divine union is here, it's happening. And I've said this before, sometimes it's really triggering to get what you want, okay? But don't let yourself get into this energy. Because that's what's happening with the arrogant. That's what's happening with the non-believers. Those who do not believe in the unseen, in what we know to be true. Those who do not believe in what we know to be true, they're the ones who are stuck. And death is coming for them. Whether that is a physical death or a spiritual death, I don't know. But it is the consequences of their actions. And it's like, let go or be dragged. Well, they're choosing to be dragged. They've chosen to be dragged, and they've racked up and accrued so much more karma for what they've done. Don't worry about people being about where you are right now. Don't worry about that. That's being taken care of. You're a blessing unto those who have the grace, the divine grace to be able to meet you and engage with you and be in relation to you honestly, seriously. I sense for some of you, it's like, and I'll speak for myself, sometimes it's like, I know that, but do they know that? That's what I want to know. Because I'm so used to people not seeing my value and having to overperform. But you don't have to do that anymore, because you see your value, you know your value, you're standing on Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. You're standing on your Christendom, that's your sovereignty. You can't have sovereignty without reaching Christ consciousness. Equanimity, talk about that in Buddhism, right? Siddhartha Gautama Buddha was going around South Asia teaching the same things. So what Christ did was he took that, or what Yeshua did is he took that information and he carried those codes and he gave it to his people, his tribe, his clan. And you take that to your tribe, your clan, your people. But don't worry about that hometown energy, because those people, they don't matter. And you just need to be done with them, honestly. Because they are this. They're stuck in that old world way of thinking. They're stuck in battling with each other and battling with themselves. They're at war with themselves, so they're at war with each other. Let them, crabs in a barrel, okay? That's what they are, and you don't need to concern yourself with them, because the lion doesn't concern itself with the opinions of the sheep. 7, they're not able to touch you. The spiritual warfare, like, they're not able to touch you. These people who've been coming up against you, but you have to stay high vibrational and move. Stop moving from your programming and your indoctrination and start moving with your spirit. Okay, that's what you need to do. See, these dark covens that were moving against you, these dark covenants are broken. They're even fighting amongst themselves, honestly. They're fighting amongst themselves because everybody wants to point the finger at somebody else for what happened, what went wrong, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, all of y'all are gonna get it, so I don't even know why you're fighting with yourselves. Y'all would even do better, you know, let me not say that, but you're all gonna get it because you all chose to act against the chosen. You all chose to attack God in the flesh. You all chose that. And now that the children of the sky are here, now that the vessel is filled with the living waters, now that the vessel is filled with the living waters and no longer the pollution, right? Y'all are about to see. That's what they wanted. They wanted you to never vibrate high enough to be able to receive your blessing. And your blessing is that divine DNA. Your blessing is to receive your higher self unto you finally. And some of you have never lived this high consciousness. You've never experienced this high consciousness before. So you're being crowned for the first time. Meanwhile, others of us, it's been hell, you know, being so low in our incarnation. But listen, can't make this up. Can't make this up. Wouldn't want to. I don't need to, because it's right here. Okay? Some of you, this is your first time experiencing this kind of like level of sovereignty. And it is amazing. The thing is, you know, it's scary, and it's about a perspective shift. Okay? Leave the past behind. Leave all that nostalgia behind. You right now, like, if you're feeling troubled, I'm hearing wade in the water, which is, it's not a Negro spiritual, but a lot of Black churches love that song. Wade in the water, wade in the water, Peter, wade in the water, take my hand and walk with me. I'm gonna see what the lyrics are actually, because there's a big message here. It is about, you know, being afraid to return home. Because a lot of you, if you are a crystalline, you are a 𝗪𝗹𝗶𝗴𝘃. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Because what happened was Peter didn't want to go out into the water, but Yeshua was out in the water, walking on water, and offered his hand to him to come out and walk with him. It is a Negro spiritual, okay. Because to tell escaping slaves to get off the trail and into the water to make sure the dogs, slave catchers, couldn't sniff out their trail. This reminds me, actually, the emerald tablets of 𝗪𝗻𝗁 𝘁𝗵𝗃. The emerald tablets, you have to stay on the round paths, because if you start going off into the straight lines and corners, the hounds will get you in the astral. It is important to keep things secret at this time. You don't need to tell people anything. And I have a smudge on my iPad screen, and it looks like No Face, who's obsessed with Sen in Spirited Away. What I'm picking up is you have been spirited away in this time. You've been spirited away to another parallel, a parallel universe. It looks the same, but it is actually not the same. You and your collective were spirited away to a parallel universe in order to go through these challenges that you had to go through to transcend, and to be revivified, come back into life. You were taken through hell, dragged through the mud in order to do that, but now you've walked through the fire. Let me see. I've been channeling that a lot. You've walked through the fire, which is dragon fire and heavenly fire, in order to be purified. Okay, that's what it is. Through the fire, to the limit, to the wall. For a chance to be with you, I'd gladly risk it all. Through the fire, through whatever, come what may. For a chance of loving you, take it all away. I don't know. I've barely talked today, so if my voice is like off, there you go. I'm also a little bit dehydrated. I'm sitting in the heat. Right down to the wire, even through the fire. And then of course, you know I have to do it. I drink a 𝗂𝗪 for breakfast and 𝗪𝗻 for dessert. Somebody ordered the pancakes, I just set the scissor. That right there could drive a sane man berserk. Not to worry, Mr. H to the Izzo's back to wizard. How do you console my mom or give her light support? Telling her her son's on life support. And just imagine how my girl will feel on the plane, scared as hell that her guy looked like 𝗪𝗏𝗀𝗃. She was with me before the deal. She been trying to be mine. She a Delta, so she been throwing that dynasty sign. No use me trying to be lying. I've been trying to get signed, trying to be signed, trying to be a millionaire. How I two lifelines. So what I want to say is, like, be careful. Be careful, because for those of us who are chosen, it's usually not so straightforward. It's usually like, it is really just the mundane, everyday choices that we make. I bind you in all densities, dimensions, and directions. I bind you, I bind your collective, I bind your kin, I bind your maker in all densities, dimensions, and directions. In the name of the Most High Divine Creator, by my authority, you are bound from causing fear. You are bound from causing harm. You are bound from communicating and engaging with me and the collective. You are bound in all dimensions, densities, and directions of all of quantum space-time. I bind you. I command that you return to the Most High Divine Creator immediately and as quickly as possible, you, your collective, your kin, and your maker. So have I spoken, so shall it be. I purify all that has been touched, and all portals, throughways, and entry points through which these energies may be able to come through and have come through, in the Holy Spirit and the living waters. In the unconditional love and unconditional truth of the Most High Divine Creator. Fill them to overflow with the living waters. I fill them to overflow with manna from heaven. I fill them to overflow with diamond sun plasma, and purify all that has been touched, all entryways, throughways, entry points, and portals, and all of light. It's dragon fire, celestial fire, and the violet flame of 𝗪𝗎. So have I spoken, so shall it be, and so it is. I invoke the crystalline collectives to refortify, guard, and seal these ways, that they may be restored to the Most High Divine Creator. To higher dimensional living, never to be used by these energies, entities, and expressions of existence again. So have I spoken, so shall it be, and so it is. Okay, so there's a lot coming through with the dragons, but I think that, you know, for the cosmic tea for today, I feel like that's kind of all that I have. But oh yeah, so through the wire, through the fire, to the limit, to the wall, for a chance to be with you, I'd gladly risk it all. So, you know, when we talk about like Matthew, I think it's 6, it's not the Beatitudes, it's after the Beatitudes. But if you're subscribed to the mysteries, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Why are we worried about, you know, material things? You know, what we're gonna eat, what we're gonna wear. The birds do not store up grain, and they don't worry about what they're gonna eat. They don't till, they don't sow, they don't farm, and yet they are fed, singing glory, glory unto the Most High. And he says that the flowers, they're here today and gone tomorrow, but they are more splendidly adorned than by the Most High Creator, Divine Creator, than anything that we could ever make, that we could ever wear. And are we not more special to the Most High Divine Creator? His eye is on the sparrow, so I know he watches me. You've been in this energy. Why? Because you've been in this energy. You've been doing what you got to do to get to this energy, but I promise you, this is where it's smooth sailing from here on out. We are moving out. The worst is over. But the thing was, like I said, 8 of Wands. We had to turn. We had to change. We had to transcend. Your power is coming back to you. It's all coming back to me now. That song has been like coming up a lot for me, so I'm actually gonna look up the lyrics. But you know why I brought up that is because it's like, worry not about your material possessions, and store not up your wealth and possessions, not on earth where it can be attacked by rust and thieves, but in heaven. You know, and when we talk about heaven, we're talking about the higher dimensions, okay? Like, it's not even necessary. I mean, it is talking about the celestial heavens, but if you think about it, when you're up in the 4th dimension, this is actually like what my art making practice is about, particularly my painting practice. When we're up in the when we get past 4D, when we break past 4D and we enter into 5D, like I said, Christ consciousness is the 4th dimension. When we get up, we've mastered Christ consciousness to the best that we can as incarnate humans. We get up to 5D. When we're looking down into the 3D, it's not empty as they try to say it is, which actually science, astrophysics does not say that it is empty. It is not a vacuum. It's full of dark matter. But when you have transcended the dimension of time, which quantum physicists believed was 4D, but now it's hyperspace is what it is considered. When you're at the 5th dimension, when you're at a higher dimension, any dimension below you, you can see all aspects of it. So if you're in the 3D, actually, like, if your brain, if your consciousness, if your mental, your mind is not stuck in binary opposition, which is to say 2-dimensional thinking, then you open up to being in your full power as someone incarnate in the 3D, and you can see everything in the spiritual world. It's a choice. Everybody has the option to awaken unto that. You don't have to be born with supernatural abilities or come from like, you know, a blue blood bloodline like I do. You just can open up to seeing it. And everybody, you know, the place that we're at right now, these are the end times, but they're the end. It's the revolution. Like I said in my last, the revolution. Like I said in my last cosmic tea, people focus so much on the destruction that happens in the earlier parts of the book of Revelations, but they don't talk about the new earth. They don't talk about the divine union that happens. They don't talk about none of that. They just focus on the destruction. And that's what they want you to focus on, so that you cannot imagine a life that is better, that you cannot imagine a world that is better. We're using our imagination for all the wrong things. God gave us the ability to imagine, to manifest through the ajna. And yet our ajna, our 3rd eye chakra, our pineal glands are being calcified. All of our body, all of our chakra system is being calcified and petrified. And we are walking dead, mummies, zombies, if you will, because of the kinds of foods that we eat, the kind of media that we consume, what we put into our bodies. And this is the thing with the social policing. People, you know, when I first went vegan, it was because I had digestive issues, really bad digestive issues. I had to go to the hospital multiple times. Like, I had to go see specialists at the children's hospital because my digestive issues were so bad. I have an autoimmune disorder. That's what it is, as a byproduct of my trauma. But you know, that family of origin, that hometown energy I was telling you about, and Yeshua always also talked about that hometown energy. He could have done more miracles in his hometown had they not been so overly familiar non-believers. They knew the old him. They didn't know the new him, so they couldn't believe in his power. So he just left, and he went on to do his works in other places. But let me tell you something. This is a message for someone. Let those old relationships go. You're going to find more love than you could ever imagine. And yes, it might hurt. Let me bring it back to these cards. Yes, it might hurt. But what's going to hurt worse is being abused for the rest of your life. Oops. Look at this. Do you want to live like this? You already been through this, feeling stuck, feeling like you're toiling for nothing, not owning the fruit of your labor, always in competition, always fighting. This is what capitalism literally is. I'm telling you. And that is one of the pillars of the demonic shadow empire. That's one of the pillars of colonialism. It buoys it up to keep you in prison, a spiritual prison, so that you cannot come into your sovereignty, which is all that the Most High Divine Creator wants for you. It's what you were born to have. It's your birthright. But you have to give it to yourself. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. They can't come up against you anymore. It's up to you if you want to continue going back, or if you want to choose to come into divine union, to come into unconditional love. For a chance to be with you, I'd gladly risk it all. In order to get the material circumstances that you're looking for, it's very, very clear. Seek first the kingdom of heaven. Seek first the kingdom of God. It's inside of you. The divine spark lives inside of you. That's the Sophia, the wisdom, the sophistication. You got to refine that. That's what spiritual alchemy is all about. That's what doing the shadow work is all about. Turning lead into gold. Making lemonade out of lemons. That's what that is about. And it's actually very, very simple. When you do the healing, you don't have to get caught up in those cycles anymore. And you won't care anymore either. I'll tell you what, like, you just got to come to a place of acceptance. And this is about having gratitude for what you do have and seeing the value in everything. This is Jupiter energy when it is actually healthy. Healthy Jupiterian energy is not blindly and stupidly optimistic like a fool. It sees the value that it can bring out of anything because it understands that it is a master alchemist. Okay? This is the end. I don't know who I'm talking to, and I actually feel like whoever I'm talking to, you're not somebody who, you're not somebody who's still necessarily like what God has in store for you. You can't ruin it if you tried, but you've already transcended those patterns of actually ruining it. It's like if the discomfort, if the pain is coming up for you because you're uncomfortable, because you feel stuck, you're not stuck anymore. You're not. It's just taking some time to come into fruition. And you just got to be patient. Temperance is related to the sign of Sagittarius, which means it's related to Jupiter, which also means that it is related to the sign of Pisces, because Jupiter is the ancient planetary ruler of Pisces. Pisces, like I said, it's the fish. It is the living waters. It is holistic integration with the divine, with your divinity, with your divine spark. Purification instead of putrefaction. So I want you to fast forward to everything having already worked out, because it has. Don't let yourself get clenched up. Don't let your heart get hardened, as we manifest through the heart. Don't let your heart get hardened from the past, which is what you've been transmuting, right? This is what it was like this, right? And through this Eight of Wands energy, you've been doing the work actively. And people may not have seen it because this is not Pentacles, it's Wands. People may not have seen it, but I guarantee you that it's happened. It doesn't matter what people see. They can't see anything to begin with. They're still stuck in two-dimensional thinking. How are you gonna sit here and care about what a grown-ass adult who is a 3D incarnate being feels about you or thinks about you when they are still stuck in two-dimensional thinking, binary opposition? That doesn't make any sense. If you identify as a chosen one, as an earth angel, a star seed, what have you. You know that you're operating from a higher consciousness. How are you going to sit here and care about what 2D people think? What NPCs think? They don't think. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They don't think. So you don't need to worry about what they think, because they don't. It doesn't happen. So there's no point in worrying about it. So this is a quantum physical principle, and I think I'm going to end with this. This is a quantum physical principle. I actually have a playlist. It's called Science is Cool. Look at it. There is a video that's very, very helpful. It explains what you will find in higher dimensions. And this guy, I think he's a physicist, but he explains what you find in higher dimensions. And what he explains is that a being of a higher dimension of consciousness, a being that comes from a higher dimension, is like unto a god to a lower dimension, because they know everything there is to know about it. They see everything there is to see about it already. This is literally like what he said. And he explains it with the piece of paper. Actually, you may remember, if you've seen Stranger Things, you may remember when they explain how they opened the portal to the upside down with the paper, and he pokes through the paper with a pencil. That is literally, that is what it is. And he explains this 5555 or 5555 on the timer. Ooh. And we get the 3 of Pentacles in the direct position, building with your true tribe. You've been so protected. You don't know how many people have been working that you don't even know these people. They don't even really know you personally, maybe. But like, just as there are dark covens that have been working against you that you maybe never met, and maybe they're just working against your entire collective, your entire soul family, or maybe they're actually working against you. And people don't think that that's common, but I'm African, so I will tell you, it is actually very common. It is very, very common. It is not unusual. And when I moved to New York, I realized I was the only person I knew who practiced magic where I grew up. When I moved to New York, I realized how commonplace it is. You got to be blessing yourself up and protecting yourself, okay? But there are people who have been working in your favor, incarnate people. What I see when I see this is like, you know, this time last year, I put out a global call to prayer, and I invited everybody on my social media and like my personal like soul tribe, my people, my friends, to pray for healing, to pray for peace, and to pray for the most disenfranchised, vulnerable of us all, which I'm not talking about any kind of like gender or ethnic background or whatever, identity politics. Children, the elderly, and the disabled. And those are the people who are preyed upon the most. To pray for peace, to pray for healing for this world. When I would go at 8 p.m. every night, and I'm also inviting folks to do that again this year from today all the way till the end of the year. And when I would like go into prayer and go into meditation, I would end up going and like doing like all this energy work where literally like I was doing energy work that was so powerful. Like I had like this massive pop in my leg, and it was like the craziest Charlie horse. Like we were doing work on the planetary crystal heart of the planet, you know, which was to turn this planet into a Christ planet. If you know my story, if you've like, this is like some deep cut stuff, but that I'm not going to get into right now, but like to turn this planet into a Christ planet, a crystalline planet, to take it out of the perilous karmic loop that it's been suffering under, and the satanic infestation. But yeah, like I'd go into prayer and end up doing a whole bunch of like energy work on the collective, on the planet. Friends of mine would go into prayer and they would end up doing energy work on like, and they would like be like the beings that were coming to them, like they were the souls of children. And they were like protecting the children and like playing with the children in the spirit realm, in the ethers. Other friends of mine were like that. I mean, it's dependent on what your gifts are. Like you know what I mean? Your supernatural, your spiritual gifts. Like people's ancestors, the people who were passing away in this time last year, and still going on, they were coming to like one of my friend's altar. Get out of here. Get out. They were coming to one of my friend's altar to be fed and to be nourished, so that they would have a safe place to transition to the afterlife. So people, you may not know who is praying for you. Okay, I didn't know for a long time that my dad's mom, my only living grandparent, my grandmother, she prays for me and my siblings every single day. I didn't know that for many years. So you might not know, but people are praying for you. There are people who are operating, just like the forces of darkness are operating. They have to work hard. If you are a loving being, if you operate from love and you operate from integrity and truth, you don't have to work hard for your works to be impactful. You don't have to work hard. People who work from wickedness have to work hard as hell, because that shit is weak. You gotta always be doing spell work. You gotta always be, working with shaitanic beings, because you are not ever going to be powerful enough to match up against the chosen one. You're not ever going to be powerful enough to match up against a celestial, against an earth angel. Never. Let alone a child of God. Let me tell you, these hoes are falling bad. They're down horrendous. They're down. They're not ever getting back up. Period. Period. You have no idea. The only time one of my prophecies hasn't come true, once in my entire life, and I've had prophetic abilities. It runs in my dad's side of the family. Actually, it runs in both sides of my family. My sisters, we all have prophetic dreams. Like, that is just a gift in my dad's side, both his mom and his dad. I saw like a domestic terror attack happening. I had a prophecy about a domestic terror attack happening in New York for like last October, last November. And that was around the time that we started doing these prayers. And specifically, like, what I was praying for and the work that I was doing was to shift timelines. And this is the power of collective prayer. And don't sleep on prayer, because honestly, it is the most powerful thing that you can do. Yes, do the mutual aid. Yes, donate. Yes, go out and like get in the streets, get active. But you need to be praying as well. And that's the message that's been coming through for a lot of people from people's ancestors, is you need to be praying. We shifted timelines. That didn't happen. It's the only time I've ever had a prophecy not come to pass. And I know why, because of the work that we did. Don't sleep on prayer. Don't underestimate the power of prayer and tapping into a power greater than you. Because when you tap in through prayer, you're not just in your own energy, which is finite. You tap into the infinite. And when you connect with a bunch of other people who are doing that, especially at the same time, collectively, y'all are all tapping into the infinite, and you're all channeling that energy into this realm. Miracles are a way of life. For me, it's a way of life every single day. Every moment that I am sober is a miracle. So I know for a fact that miracles are possible. I never thought that I would be living this life. And as I've said, I have my challenges. My life does not look the way that I want it to look for me. And I know that it's not the end for me for that reason. But, and it doesn't feel that way either. But I'm still living a miracle every single day. I never dreamed that I would be this free. I never dreamed that I would be this sovereign. I never thought I would even graduate high school. I didn't even know how I was going to make it to the age of 18. That's how messed up I was. And I did it anyway, somehow. And the things that were troubling me, let me tell you, that hometown energy that bedeviled me, that I felt stuck with, I'm not stuck with that anymore. I'm free of that. I used to sit down and cry to God, cry to my ancestors, because I felt like I was going to have to deal with these people forever. I don't have to deal with them anymore. And I don't feel bad about it either. Okay? This is what this is about. The blessings are there if you're willing to look for them. And if you can't find them, make a blessing. Be a blessing in somebody's life, because you get what you give. You feel me? So that is, I feel, all I have for you. If you are purging right now, here are some tips that I would recommend. Salt bath, Epsom salt bath especially. You know, I always make fire tea. I'm gonna post a recipe for that, probably in the newsletter actually. I might post it to the community board, but I'm definitely gonna post my recipe for fire tea. Manuka honey. I would recommend to you to eat honey, a spoonful of honey every day actually, for the next week or so. But especially Manuka honey, because of its antibacterial properties and antimicrobial properties. The higher the count, the plus count on it, like, the better. I would say plus 20 is a good place, like plus 25 is a good place to start. Charging your body in the sun. Do remember that your body is a crystalline structure in and of itself. Your bones are crystalline structures. So you're gonna want to charge up in that way, in the sun as much as you can, because that's gonna help with purification. I would also encourage you to avoid eating meat right now. I know that might be hard for some people, but I would encourage it. Try to eat living foods as much as you can. Smoothies, electric foods. Look up what that means. It's like electrolyte rich stuff, because it's just going to help you with this process, help your body through the process of, I'm hearing electrician. You may have memories returning to you. You may be having a lot of downloads. Get grounded. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling worn out, don't push yourself past what you can do. Rest, because otherwise you're going to bring yourself even more out of balance. Like I was saying, you need to bring yourself into balance. You need to find equilibrium and equanimity. So that might look like shadow work, it might look like grounding meditation. It's gonna look different for all of us at different times, but that's what it's giving. I love you all truly and deeply. I hope that this was helpful, and I'm going to see you on the flip side. I don't know, did I put my deck under my thighs? Oh, it's in my pocket. And happy hunting. If you want to book a session with me, you know where to find me. I still need to update the prices. I haven't done it yet, so y'all still have time to get sessions with me at the price that it's been at for the past like year or so. But I'm about to change my prices and my price model. So I would really encourage you to work with me sooner rather than later if money is something that you are challenged by. And I will also say this much. Right now through the 28th of October, we're in the process of integration, Holy Grail union, 𝗪𝗂𝗃 purification as we merge with our counterpart. You may not see it happening in the 3D, but it is in fact happening in the 4D. For sure, it's already happened in the 5D, and it's going to come into being at the end of this month of October 2024. So continue giving birth to that. I think that we're like, you know, we're already done. The hard part's done. Just like relax, chill, don't lose faith, keep your eye on the prize, and just keep showing up for yourself, because like I've said, sometimes getting what you want is actually hella triggering, because the reason you were running away from it is because you were afraid. You were afraid to get what you wanted. So now that you can get it, it might be really triggering. I'm like, do I have a bunch of boobs? But of course I do. Yeah. I think that's it. Subscribe to the newsletter. I love you all truly and deeply. And happy hunting.